Now we're going to have a look at Billy's internal conflict and just explore how tension is created through the forces, those binary forces that are coming in on Billy. You know, so we have these two worlds. We've got Billy's world of childhood innocence, and you know, he's full of imagination and passion, his love of dance, and that's pitted against the backdrop of the climate of the era of Durham in the 1980s, time of political turmoil. You had a working class town with miners' strikes, Thatcher's England, who's driving through these neoliberal policies that are benefiting the rich and causing a lot of hardship and poverty for the poor, accentuating. It's exacerbating the poverty that they experience. And so you've got a world of dreams and imagination, and then you've got the real world. And so Billy's sort of pitted in between this because he's young and impressionable, and he's been thrust into this world of coming to realise what the reality is, and can he hang on to his dreams. So Billy is torn by this the conflict between him wanting to follow his passions and be an individual and have expression, or conforming to the family traditions and doing what's expected of him. He loves his family, he doesn't want to let them down, but at the same time he sees a different path for himself. Now, if we have a look at the film poster, and there's a scene in the film where Billy's running and he jumps in the air, and he's running in the street and he jumps in the air, and he's got his ballet shoes around him. So it's a really good image to explore, because it's full of a lot of movement and space, and it is indicating that Billy feels free and that he is in that realm of dreams and passion, what have you, and that I think it's deliberate that he's wearing black shoes, and the ballet shoes around his neck are white. So it's drawing on that contrast between black and white through imagery to show the different worlds. And so in that shot we can see the conflict between the two worlds, because they're there in front of us, and we know that shoes are used as a motif, and so they're nicely placed in the shot. The fact that his feet are off the ground, it's like he's flying, which is communicating the idea of his freedom, and he finds freedom in this. And so he's flying, there's this image of flight. So when we start thinking about it, flight, that's associated with birds, and certainly that draws us to the notion of swans, so we can see that progression there. And we know that swans are symbols of grace, beauty, love, trust, loyalty, and these are all the qualities that Billy embodies. He is the embodiment of those qualities. And so this image is a really interesting one, because it does show him breaking free of the restrictions of society. And it's in the earlier stages of the film. So it is foreshadowing the success that he's going to have. And the film poster is communicating to us that he's the protagonist of the story, he's the hero, and that he is going to succeed. Let's explore the restrictions, those barriers or boundaries that are causing Billy's internal conflict. And there are three that we're going to look at. The first one is gender. We're going to look at the gender assumptions of the society and the gender roles that are defined by society. So contextually, if we think about when the film is set, 1980s England, there are clearly defined roles in the town that Billy lives in, and it's very much a male world. It's very harsh. There's a predisposition to violence, and particularly it is evident in Billy's household because his mother's not there. But I think the masculine world is lacking emotion and means of expression. They resort to violence because they don't know better. There's gendered language, so the language of the characters in the film reflect this sort of idea of how they're portrayed. Women are seen as a bit softer and more caring, maternal. But it's not saying that men don't have those qualities, but that they're not evident. Okay, so what the film is doing is it is challenging the constructed nature of masculinity. So it's setting up the reality and saying this is the world, but really the message of the film is that you don't have to be like that. You should be yourself. So it is exploring what it is to be a man, and it's reframing that dialogue so that the dominant narrative in relation to that is that men have to be tough and strong, and they have to be hard workers and not expose their softer sides. And so the film challenges these notions not only through the character of Billy, but you certainly can see it in the character of Jackie as well. Obviously, it's clearly apparent in Billy, but the relationship that Billy has with Jackie has an influence on him, and it makes him reassess his understanding of who he is. And ultimately, that's what the film's trying to do. Through putting you into this fictional space, you explore the goings-on of the characters and the relationships they have, and then you apply it to your own world, and you question your own understandings and assumptions about gender. Okay, so here we get to a really strong evaluation, and these are the things that you've got to get to in your story. So you're talking about the film, and you're looking at the characters and the internal conflicts. But if we look at this and it says, through the stories of Billy's transformation, we learn that identity is not determined by gender. That's a really strong conclusion that you're drawing from what we've been studying. Okay, so it's our desire and our passions that really should determine our identity, not our gender. And our identity is intrinsic, it's within us. And the thing that is limiting us is that gender is a social construct. It's constructed by society, and what that does, it restricts us from discovering our true identity. Okay, we behave in particular ways to stop that from occurring. Okay, we're sort of conditioned into that. So here, this is the sort of conclusion that you have to draw as you're building your argument to access those higher marks. Rather than just talking about the film, we're going beyond that, and we're stepping out of the film and saying this is how the director's coming up with these messages, but then you have to take it that step further and draw a conclusion. Okay, so it's telling us about identity, that it's intrinsic, and that it's not a social construct. Okay, so we can further that idea and say that when we explore gender roles and the assumptions of gender, that we come to understand that we all wear a mask. We're all hiding our true selves because of the socially constructed nature of gender in our society, and that we perform as we're expected to in public, predominantly. It can happen in private as well, of course. And the reason why we do that is we're driven by fear. We don't want to be marginalised because we express our true selves. And so the film is really presenting this idea that we all are in the same boat. We all have these passions, and we have these different sides to us, our true selves, but we are guarded, and we don't show them because of the expectations of society. So the film was produced in the year 2000, and you have to say really then that it's quite a bold and courageous film, because it is exploring these notions of gender, and it also touches on things like homosexuality and transgender identity. His little friend, Billy's friend, who experiments with cross-dressing. So that's quite ahead of its time to be exploring these things. But the film goes way beyond that. It's not really about exploring all those different sort of aspects or different components of society. The real message is be who you are, and don't be don't have your identity determined by the social constructs. And so really it's not just being it's not just sending you a message about how you should react to your gender and your identity, but you should be able to apply that to all aspects of your life. And if you live by that premise of being yourself, being true to yourself, following your passions, then that's the message that's being presented to you.